Rappers are monkey flipping with the funky rhythm. I be kicking, musician, inflicting composition.
Whose world is this?
The world is yours. The world is yours.
It's mine, it's mine.
The year is 1994. Forrest Gump released to theaters and became a box office sensation. The Houston Rockets defeated the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. At the age of 45, George Foreman became the oldest heavyweight boxing champion in history. Kurt Cobain was found dead in his home at the age of 27. 2 weeks after this, Nas released Illmatic, which is widely regarded as the greatest rap album of all time. Before getting into the album though, I recently made a gaming channel that you guys should definitely go check out. I'll be posting content on there, so definitely go out and support that. And if you haven't already done it yet, go follow my Instagram too. That would be greatly appreciated. Make sure to comment on what it was like for you in 1994 when Illmatic came out and what your reaction was when you first heard it. Rap-wise, in 1994, some of the albums that came out that year were Ready to Die by Biggie Smalls, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music by Outkast, The Diary by Scarface, and Regulate G-Funk Era by Warren G. The release of Illmatic birthed the career of one of the most celebrated rappers in history. For these types of videos where I break down the history of an album, I normally start a year before its release, but in the case of Illmatic, a fair starting point is 1991. This is the year that Nas came out of nowhere and featured on the main Source song, Live at the Barbecue. He was 17 when the song was released.
Verbal assassin, my architect pleases. When I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus. Nasty Nas is a rebel to America.
This lone verse changed everything for Nas and gained him a significant buzz. He wasn't really known before the verse, but after it dropped, he turned a lot of heads. Nas appearing on the song would have not been possible without his connection to Large Professor, a member of Main Source at the time. I originally met Nas through Joe Fatal, and he had a friend named Melquan that he was getting up with. Nas wanted to record a demo for himself. His mother was funding him to go record a demo, and at that time, my name was kind of ringing bells. Like, yo, there's this dude out in Flushing that's making these crazy beats. Fatal was putting that out there, so I had to show and prove. One day, Melquan and Fatal set it up. I was coming out of high school, coming down the steps, and them and Nas came by in the cab like, yo, we're gonna make that happen. So we jetted back to the crib, I got my machine, and jetted all the way out to some studio. Sty in the Sky Studios in Coney Island, Brooklyn. I made the beat right there, and re-recorded the demo. I forgot the name of it, but it was dope though. We had other demos from that time too that were ill, like Top Choice of the Female Persuasion and 550 Fahrenheit, but they never came out. Fortunately, we do know some of the songs on the 1991 demo from Nas that was being shopped to record labels. Songs like I'm the Villain, which officially released on the 20th anniversary of Illmatic, Nas Will Prevail, an early version of It Ain't Hard to Tell, which appeared on Illmatic, and Just Another Day in the Projects, which is still unreleased officially.
I'm living in a mansion, holding niggas wife for ransom. I'm like a rich Charles Manson, a blue backyard about.
Aside from Large Professor, another person who is instrumental in the backstory of Illmatic is rapper MC Search. He met Nas while he was at Kool G Rap's house. It wasn't until MC Search started his solo career after Third Base when he got to know Nas more. Nas eventually asked MC Search for guidance in the music industry. I knew he had been talking to Big B and Craig Coleman, and I knew the guys over there, and I really didn't feel comfortable talking on behalf of an artist that wasn't signed to me. So I got them a production agreement that basically said that I represent Nas exclusively for his recording career. And I went over to Big B and spoke to Reef and Stretch and said, look, the deal you're offering him isn't a great deal. Make it a great deal. Guy is going to be one of the greatest MCs of our generation. He deserves to have a deal that represents that. At the time, they wanted half of his publishing. They were really not offering a great deal, and they said, look, this is the deal we're offering. We can't make it any better. So I said, okay, I get it. He's not signing here, just so you know. MC Search took Nas's demo to various record labels. One of the record labels was Def Jam Records, who MC Search was signed to as part of Third Base and as a solo act. This is the legendary Def Jam Records. By this time, they had artists like LL Cool J, the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, Public Enemy, Slick Rick, EPMD, and many more. MC Search took the demo to Russell Simmons, one of the co-founders of the label. Russell Simmons passed on Nas because he felt that Nas sounded way too similar to Kool G Rap. He also said that Kool G Rap did not sell any records, so he was not interested. This story has been corroborated by Large Professor, who took issue with what Russell Simmons said about Nas. Large Professor explained that Russell Simmons was not aware that Kool G Rap was in the same camp as Nas and that Nas was a descendant of him. Nas was the new generation of what Kool G Rap was. The label that did eventually end up giving Nas a chance was Columbia Records. Faith Newman is the woman who got him signed to the label. Columbia Records, along with MC Search, were tied to the 1992 movie Zebrahead. Nas appeared on the soundtrack of the movie with his song Halftime, which ended up making the cut for Illmatic.
You couldn't catch me in the streets without a ton of reefer. That's like Malcolm X catching a jungle fever. King poetic, too much.
The making of Illmatic wasn't exactly smooth sailing, according to Faith Newman. According to her, Nas almost got dropped from the label a couple times. This includes an incident with Nas's brother Jungle bringing a gun inside the label. When the label's president found out, he wanted to wipe his hands clean of Nas. This turned out to just be a big misunderstanding, but Faith has also said that this wasn't the only incident with guns involving Jungle that did not go over well with Columbia Records. An unfortunate death of Nas's friend also impacted the making of Illmatic. Ill Will was a childhood friend of Nas who was sadly gunned down in the Queensbridge projects in May of 1992. Jungle was also shot during the incident, but he survived his injuries. Because of this incident, Nas took time off of recording for Illmatic. But once Nas started to record for the album again, he had a different type of hunger, with him going all in with the music. A crew of legendary producers consisting of DJ Premier, P Rock, Q-Tip, and Large Professor came together to craft the album. LES was not widely known before the album, but he crafted, in my opinion, one of the best beats on the album, Life's a Beat. I feel like when people mention some of the most influential rappers of all time, they don't mention Nas, which is insane. People mention rappers like Lil Wayne, Tupac, and Jay-Z, who are all very influential in their own right, but Nas in particular changed the game. Solo rappers had a mix of one producer or multiple people. I'm already expecting to see some hardcore fans in my comments about X rapper, but Nas was one of, if not the first rappers to drop a project with multiple legendary producers producing on one project. We're talking about Hall of Fame first ballot type stuff. We still see this to this day with rappers doing their projects like this. I think that this was a good strategy by Nas because the producers on the album competed with one another. DJ Premier did not want to get outshined by P Rock, and Q-Tip did not want to get outshined by DJ Premier. It was a competitive cycle, but there is a chance that this all might have not happened if Large Professor accepted to executive produce the album. He is the one who introduced Nas to all of these other people. Nas begged him to do the whole album, but in hindsight, Large Professor made the right decision. Speaking of these producers, the recording towards the end of Illmatic was very rushed due to the rampant bootlegging surrounding the album. To combat this, Columbia Records wanted the album out ASAP. The bootlegging is the main reason why the album is only 10 tracks long, really 9 if you don't count the Genesis. I think that this turned out for the better because the album was more potent and didn't have much filler, short and to the point. MC Search said that he was breaking into garages in the Bronx because they had 70,000 copies of bootleg versions of the album. The cover art was a drawing of Nas on a cross being crucified. Nas has even talked about running into people before Illmatic ever came out and they already heard it. Finally, in April of 1994, the album was released. It peaked at number 12 on the Billboard 200, selling 63,000 copies in its first week. Despite the low sales, the album garnered rave reviews. Most importantly, it received the coveted 5 mic rating from the Source magazine. This was a huge deal, especially back then, because the Source was like a hip-hop Bible to many. Over time, the album started to be appreciated more and more. Illmatic did not go gold until 2 years later, in January of 1996. It did not go platinum until December of 2001, 7 years after its release. As of January of 2019, Illmatic is double platinum. But I do want to give some credit to Stretch and Bobbito because they also played a pivotal role behind the album with their radio show. A segment from their show in October of 1993 made the cut of Illmatic's 20th anniversary release. It's a cipher of rappers from Queensbridge. Now on to the cover art of the album, which is a childhood photo of Nas with the Queensbridge projects in the background. I just found out that there's a chance that this might have never been the cover. I read that Nas initially wanted the cover art to depict himself holding Jesus Christ in a headlock. Thankfully, this wasn't the idea that they went with. It's said that he preferred another idea presented to him by Amy McCauley. This is the woman who did the album cover and package design for Illmatic, and it was written. The name Illmatic in itself means that something is ill or dope. When Large Professor talked about the name, he mentioned someone by the name of Illmatic Ice from Queensbridge. According to MC Search, Word Life was the original title of the album. At the time, MC Search was also working with a rapper named OC, who he says asked Nas if he could name his album Word Life. Word Life was just a title idea that Nas was playing around with, but as we know, he went with Illmatic instead. Months after Illmatic was released, OC released the album Word Life in October of 1994. With that being said, let's dive into the history behind each song.
Know what I'm saying? Big Nas, Grand Wizard, God, what is it like? Know what I'm saying?
Illmatic starts off with the Genesis. The intro starts with Nas's verse from the main Source song Live at the Barbecue. As I noted earlier, this was a very important verse for Nas's career because it gave him a significant buzz. After this, the 1983 movie Wild Style is sampled. This movie is noted to be one of the earliest movies to depict hip-hop culture. Why this sample was selected is because Nas wanted to show people how much of a fan he was of the culture. In a 1994 interview, Nas would further say, "When you look back in the days when dudes was rhyming what made them grab the mic and start talking ill stuff, check Wild Style the movie. That's the Bible. They just expressing themselves, young Africans and Latinos trapped in a cell of hell, screaming, telling everybody, we still surviving out here and I'm doing my thing and nobody's stopping me, but I'm gonna tell you what's in my way." In an interview, MC Search said that the Wild Style sample was actually the most difficult sample to clear on the album. A deal was initially done with the director of the film, but Fab Five Freddy got into the mix and told the director that he was not getting enough money from the sample. This confused MC Search because Freddy was set to direct the music video for Nas's song One Love. He thought, why was Freddie saying this when he was about to get a check cut to him by the same people? MC Search and Fab Five Freddy had a conversation over this, with Freddie asking Search if he was threatening him by not allowing him to do the One Love music video. Search explained that it was not a threat, but Fab Five Freddy needed to clear up the situation, otherwise he would not be directing the video. This was the last time that Fab Five Freddy and MC Search ever spoke to each other. According to IMDb, Fab Five Freddy still directed the One Love music video, and the Wild Style sample was eventually cleared. After the Wild Style sample in the Genesis, a skit featuring Nas, his brother Jungle, and AZ takes place. When talking about the intro, Jungle said that Nas picked the beat for the background, which he initially did not like. Jungle felt that the beat was garbage, but reflecting on it now, he feels that he was young and did not understand Nas's vision. The intro then fades into what's regarded as one of the greatest rap songs of all time, New York State of Mind. This track was produced by the legendary DJ Premier. This is one of the 3 tracks he produced for Illmatic. New York State of Mind was the second beat he produced for the album, with the song Represent being the first. At the beginning of the track, Nas raps that he does not know how to start off the track, which was true because Nas was confused on how he was going to start it off. This is something that was kept in, but according to DJ Premier, Nas did his first verse in one take. DJ Premier normally does not like to disclose the songs that he samples, but since the sample for New York State of Mind is cleared, he did not care if people knew. The track samples the 1977 song Mind Rain by Joe Chambers.
Rappers are monkey flipping with the funky rhythm I be kicking. Musician, inflicting composition.
At the end of Nas's first verse, he raps that he never sleeps because sleep is the cousin of death. Though he's noted for rapping the line, Nas has said that the saying was around long before he was born. He just happened to be inspired enough to put it in a rhyme, and it became a classic rap line. One of the reasons that New York State of Mind is a classic and remains timeless is that it perfectly paints a picture of New York City. What it was like in the 90s, with some of the things that Nas rapped about still being how things are today. New York State of Mind then fades into Life's a B, which features AZ. This track is produced by LES, with Nas being credited as a co-producer. Nas initially wanted LES to sample the 1983 song Juicy Fruit, which Biggie ended up famously sampling for his song Juicy, which came out later on in 1994 after the release of Illmatic. So this is how Life's a B could have initially sounded, but LES did not have the record as Nas requested. Instead, LES brought Nas the sample to the 1981 song Yearning for Your Love by the Gap Band. Visualizing the realism of life in actuality, fuck who's the baddest, a person's status depends on salary. As I mentioned, Biggie went on to release the single Juicy, which used the same sample that Nas originally wanted. As we know, that single ended up becoming a defining moment in Biggie's career. When speaking about the song, Nas said that the day after he recorded his vocals for the song, he lost his rhyme book. When his inner circle realized that he left it on the train, everyone was devastated because they thought that it was all over. Years of writing now lost forever. The good thing is that Nas remembered a lot of those rhymes. After recently seeing a rhyme book from Lil Wayne dating back to the 90s being auctioned off for $5 million, I can only imagine how much Nas's lost rhyme books would go for. AZ features on the song, and in an interview with Drink Champs, he details meeting Nas over the phone. The two met through a mutual friend. AZ did not meet Nas until a year after their initial phone conversation. AZ came to the studio with Nas when he was halfway done with Illmatic. He was asked to spit on the track and he delivered one of the greatest guest verses in history. A verse that AZ did not initially like because he wasn't fond of hearing his voice being played back for the first time. But this verse essentially changed AZ's life. Nas references this verse on his 2001 song Got Yourself a Gun, where he boasts that his first album had no famous guest appearances. This is true because AZ is the only credited feature on Illmatic. He was not widely known beforehand. One would bring up Q-Tip, who produced and did the hook on the song One Love, and Pete Rock, who did the same thing for The World Is Yours. But both of them are just credited as producers. Only AZ is credited as a feature. At the end of the song, you can hear a trumpet solo, which is done by Nas's father, a musician in his own right hailing from Mississippi. Nas asked his father to be on the end of the song. He told him to play whatever came to mind of his memories of Nas as a kid. The fourth track on the album is The World Is Yours. It was also the fourth single to come from the album. It's produced by the legendary Pete Rock. When the two started working together, Pete Rock ended up playing some beats with The World Is Yours being one that Nas really liked. The beat was already made, in which Pete Rock himself said that he did it in only 10 minutes. The song samples the Tila Rock and Jazzy J song It's Yours.
Seeking people of the universe, this is yours. It's mine, whose world is this? It's yours. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine.
Nas said that he fought really hard to get the Tila Rock sample included. It ended up being a last-minute addition to the album during its mixing stage. He did not know how Pete Rock was going to incorporate it in the song, but being the genius that Pete Rock is, he made it work. Nas also wanted Pete Rock to do the hook, which Pete Rock was against because he was not a singer. But Nas convinced him and he eventually obliged. There was a bit of drama behind the song, however. When discussing The World Is Yours, MC Serch detailed his problems with Pete Rock and his brother. When discussing The World Is Yours, MC Serch detailed his problems with Pete Rock and Pete Rock's brother. The week Illmatic was being mixed, MC Serch's grandmother passed away. Being Jewish, MC Serch did something known as Shiva, or sitting Shiva, which from my research refers to a 7-day period of formalized mourning by the immediate family of the deceased. Essentially, you're not supposed to do anything for a week. Traditionally, those who do it don't bathe, work, engage in pleasurable activities, or try to distract themselves with anything. Their primary focus is on feeling the pain and grief of losing someone. During this time, Pete Rock's brother called up MC Serch and said that he was owed a $5,000 check for Illmatic. Serch told him that he would send him a check that coming Monday, but they needed to record for the album that day, which was Friday, which happened to be the day that MC Serch sat Shiva. Hearing this, Pete Rock's brother wanted to record on Monday instead because that was the day that he was getting the check on. MC Serch told him that that could not happen because mastering for the album was supposed to start that Monday. During the conversation, Pete Rock's brother allegedly told MC Serch that he did not care about his dead grandmother because he wanted his money. MC Serch still has problems with Pete Rock and his brother to this day over this situation. Even though Pete Rock was not directly involved, MC Serch said that his brother was his manager, so he should have been involved. Nas never knew about this incident until years later, around 2008, when MC Serch told him. When questioned about it, Pete Rock said that it could have happened, but he did not remember. He was just concerned about making dope tracks with Nas. Halftime follows the song and is produced by Large Professor. It's noted to be the first single from Illmatic and was released under the moniker Nasty Nas, which was just changed to Nas sometime after the song came out. Halftime released in October of 1992. Busta Rhymes initially had the beat for the song and he watched Large Professor make it in front of him. Why he never used the beat was because he called writer's block and did not know what to do with it, even though he loved the beat. When Nas ended up taking the beat and releasing Halftime, Busta was disappointed at himself for not getting on it initially. The title of the track is perfect because it's the halfway point of Illmatic. It's track number 5 of the 10 tracks on the album. Halftime then fades into the song Memory Lane, Sittin' in the Park. This was produced by DJ Premier. The track samples the 1971 Reuben Wilson song We're in Love. Nas picked a sample of the song, which DJ Premier did not want to use initially. The reason why is because he did not like the beat before the drums and everything else that was added on. Nas felt that he needed a track that was not like the others. He wanted something more musical and melodic compared to the darker tracks on the album. At first, DJ Premier was not too sold on the song, but Nas proved him wrong when he laid his vocals on the track. I just felt like all that stuff I saw in Queensbridge, it meant something. For some reason, I knew this ain't the average stuff a kid my age is supposed to be seeing. I knew it was something special about what I was seeing, and it wasn't all good. This was real life. It's situations. Whether it's welfare, or my friends having dope fiend parents, or teenagers being chased by cops. In 2013, during an interview with Red Bull Music Academy, Q-Tip played a previously unheard version of the song. This version, in my opinion, fits the grittier theme of the album, but I do think that the decision to keep the version of the song that we have today was needed. Some people prefer the unreleased version, which is good in its own right. I absolutely love the bass and knock that it has, but the official version, in my opinion, is just slightly better. It has more of a nostalgic feel to me in terms of the sample. It samples a song from the 70s, but it reminds me of my own childhood. Speaking of Q-Tip, he produced the next song on the album, One Love. What up, kid? I know this is rough doing your bid. When the cops came, you should have slid to my crib. This was the last single to be released from Illmatic. The Houdini song One Love and Bob Marley's song of the same name served as inspirations behind the track. Nas dedicated One Love to his friends that were locked up. One Love was something that people used to say in letters to those who were incarcerated. Nas liked the message because it represented unity and togetherness. During the making of Illmatic, Nas asked Large Professor if it was possible to get Q-Tip of A Tribe Called Quest to produce a song for him. Large Professor set it up, which ended up working out because Q-Tip was a huge fan of Nas. After hearing what DJ Premier did on Memory Lane, Q-Tip knew that he had to bring the heat, which he absolutely did. One Time for Your Mind is the 8th track on the album and is produced by Large Professor. When discussing this track, Large Professor said that this was a quick little rhyme that Nas did. That's why it feels nonchalant. This was really like an extra track in a sense. The main thing that Nas was focused on was getting Grand Wizard, later known as Wiz, on the song. His voice is heard on the hook. Wiz later on went to be a part of the rap group The Bravehearts, which included Jungle. The funny thing about this song is that a lot of people believe that it's the worst song on Illmatic, which says a lot because this song isn't actually that bad. The album just has so many dope tracks that people just feel like this is a low point. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, but let me know down in the comments with your feelings regarding this. The second to last track on the album is Represent, which is produced by DJ Premier. Who's always on the corner, rolling up blessed. When I dress is never nothing less than yes. In an interview about the making of the album, Nas explained, "That was a serious weight representing Queensbridge. I was honored to do it because of what Shan and Marley had already done. I just wanted to grab the flag and hold it up as high as ever. I felt like they had already paved the way and now they needed an unbeatable soldier to hold that flag up high. After the battle with BPD, you can't ignore the doubt that people had in my hood. So it was like, I'm here now and I got it. And I'ma hold it down to the death." The version that appears on the album is actually a remix. This was confirmed by DJ Premier on his YouTube channel, where he talked about the making of the song. The original song was called Representin' and sounded a lot different. This was due to it having a jazz sample.
Before the BDP conflict with MC Shan, around the time with Shantae, just a real Roxanne, I used to wake up
DJ Premier remixed the song once he heard Q-Tip's production for One Love. This version, appearing on Illmatic, had some pushback because Nas liked the original song with a jazz sample over the remix. DJ Premier wanted the song that we have today, which is the remix, and he ended up getting his way. The last song on the album is It Ain't Hard to Tell, which was produced by Large Professor. This was the first single to come out after the album's release. It peaked at number 91 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts.
It ain't hard to tell. I excel, then prevail. The mic is contacted, I attract clientele.
As I mentioned earlier, this was one of the songs that was on Nas's demo before he got signed. There happens to be multiple versions of the song, but the one that stood out to me was the 1991 version. It has a different beat and different lyrics for the most part. It's called Nas Will Prevail.
It ain't hard to tell. I excel and prevail. The mic comes in contact with the third rail.
This is the original version, which was done at Large Professor's apartment. Once Nas got a record deal, the two were able to get a real mic in studio to re-record the song. Nas was pissed when SWV did a remix to their song Right Here in 1993, which sampled Human Nature by Michael Jackson. Nas also wanted to use the sample, but he felt that SWV took the shine. He also wondered if Michael Jackson would ever clear the sample. Then he realized that the two were label mates because Nas was signed to Columbia while Michael Jackson was signed to Epic Records. Both of these labels are under Sony Music. It's kind of funny thinking that the Michael Jackson sample was easier to clear than the Wild Style sample on the Genesis. But just like that, the album concludes. What a classic album. There's already so much out there about it already, but people have literally begged me to do a video about this album for years, so I just decided to finally come around to do it. This is one of those albums that you can just talk about for hours. I'm unsure how long this video will be as I'm recording, but like I said, if you want to learn more, there's plenty of documentaries, interviews, and articles out there about it. All in all, let me know in the comment section below what you think about the album and what classic album should I cover next. I love you guys with all my heart. Peace.